Welcome to MJ Performance. Right guys and girls, you join us back with Derek's, the mega build that we're doing on his Mark III Focus RS. I'll just quickly recap on following on from where the last instalment ended. It was obviously with the 2 litre closed deck block, which was being prepped. Then I was going to crack on and start painting it. I didn't really have time, ran out of time to start doing videos of it. Phases that I was doing. I was trying to do it, I was going to do it, but like I say, just ran out of time. So we'll speed on, I'll fast forward that and show you the block in a sec. But yeah, so on the floor here is just the bits and pieces, internals of Derek's, which is stripped. So if you remember, this car had a intermittent misfire. It's a bit weird because obviously I'd done some things while it was here and it played up once, but then didn't play up again, you know, so but anyway, so it was just to see if we could find anything, because it was come here for that, to have a complete conversion done anyway, so we're not too fussed about that, but it'd be nice to try and find out what it is. But sometimes it's really tricky in it to try and identify it, unless it's like blatantly there. But yeah, we've done an inspection, a quick inspection on the pistons, on the rings, you know, the crank, the block, various other things. You know, we spin across to the valves and stuff like that, as you can see. Look, you know, I mean, they need to be cleaned up yet, so I'll give them a thorough inspection. You know, there's the original head gasket there, and there's all the rest of this, which would be your cam and your caps, and you know, oil pump cover. I don't need to tell you guys what that is. I mean, you sort of like work out for yourselves what it is, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, there's all the other bits on the floor there. Look, Derek's Sport Cat and the Regal intercooler that we're going to completely refresh up, as we did on Richard's, make it look pretty again. Other bits over there, as you can see, that's all of the inlet manifold and the air, but that's being changed anyway. So I'm one of my billet ones on it, so I'm not too fussed about that. But yeah, if we swing around, pretty oily, congealed oil there, isn't it? So as you can see, look, it's actually not in bad nick actually. You know, the liners look pretty good. You know, there's no evidence of any problems there with any cracks or distortion. So this has all been painted now. So I've put probably about 4 coats of etching primer on that, and then it's probably had about 6 coats of 2K. So as you can see, I've got to demask it yet, as you follow it around up. Yeah, it's all still masked up, and the side, the top, and then that'll be put back onto the engine stand, and then we can start building it up. Then I'll put all it's ideal doing it that way, because then I can put all the bits that I'm going to be fitting, like the crank and the Arrow Precision crank, the rods, the pistons, lay it out on the bench, and then as I'm going, all the bits and pieces that I need, pick it up off the bench and start building the motor. All right, so that's all to come, guys and girls. Richard's just poking his rear behind of his car right there, look, and then switch across and we've got fields in that one. So yeah, loads to do. So I will, without further ado, let me crack on, and then we'll keep this video going, this project going, and we'll keep updated as we go through. So I need to start demasking this block. Right, guys and girls, let's continue with the next part of Derek's mega build that we're doing. So I thought I'd concentrate on the Arrow Precision side of things, hence why we've got the crank and the carb rods on the bench. To start with that first, and then we'll talk about the other bits and pieces, the ARP studs and double valve springs and mallet pistons a bit later. But let's concentrate on the Arrow Precision for the moment. So as you can see, look, so we got the crank there. I've cleaned all that off with brake cleaner. It comes in the protective brown paper to keep it all nice and sweet in there. So, but it is you know, it's a good bit of kit. As you can see, look, if you can see down there, look, on that, I pointed this out on the previous vid with the balance shaft gear wheel. You can see it down there. Look, I'm not going to go around in, you know, because I want to talk about this tonight. It's difficult when you're there by yourself. If I've got Laura or Mike here, then they could do the video and then I could go around and explain more. But anyway, it is what it is. So yeah, so you can see, look, so if you look down there, it's actually the way round, isn't it? So it should be over here, but that's missing. And then all your counterweights, i.e. these, look, they're different profiles on it. So they're just reprofiled, and that's where you get your weight reduction. So you get your weight reduction of, it's 4 kilos in total. So that comes from a mixture of that gear sprocket being removed and all the counterweights being reprofiled. Okay, so that's the track spec crank, well, fast road track that we use. So it's still got the OE compression fit pulley on it. There's no keyway in it. Depends on what you're doing with it. I mean, you could keyway it if you wanted to, but on this particular application, that's not required, all right, at this stage. So, but then we move down to the rods. Now, I've talked about these before, all right, they are absolutely superb. As you can see, look, there's the finish on them. It's just, you know, it's just, in my eyes, they're just the best, you know. You know, don't forget, I've got a choice of fitting whatever, but this is all I'll fit. The only application, sorry, on all my applications, the only thing I'll fit is Arrow Precision. All right, and the good thing is I like that bit there, made in England. Not a lot happens in England these days, is it, where things are made, so that's fantastic. You've got your assembly lube. Now, it looks the same when you squeeze it out of the sachet there. It looks the same as your ARP moly slip, but it's not. All right, it's a different thickness of fluid because it's designed specifically for Arrow Precision rods. So it's made by ARP to their specifications. All right, so it's not the same. I thought that. Oh, it's the same. I can use the ARP moly slip if I run out of that. You cannot. So it's specific to this application. All right. So, but yeah, as you can see, look, they're all just presented them out. They come in they've got protective oil on them just to keep them more nice as per the crank. Okay, and then you've got your assembly instructions. Now, as I've said before with this, all right, as you can see there, look, all right, it clearly says stretch recommended, torque not recommended. So if you go ahead and ignore that and just carry on in torque them, then that's up to you. But I can tell you now, if there's any issues, it won't be down to the actual rod or anything to do with Arrow. It'll be to do with the installation and that you haven't followed what they've told you to do. So that's why they do it, or else why would they bother? They just wouldn't even bother producing that, would they? So you have to stretch them, which is the way that you'll find that all race engines, competition engines, any sort of like top-notch engine builder will be stretching bolts, not torquing them, if that's what it tells you to do on the installation instructions. So it's all pretty clear. That's what we do, obviously. You have to have a proper stretch gauge, which is, we have an ARP one. And what I'll do is I'll show you how to, if I get a chance, I'll show you how to stretch the bolts and how we do it. All right, because a lot of people, if you asked, I don't know, 10 people if they know what stretching a rod bolt is, they probably wouldn't know unless they've done it themselves, or if they've read up about it, or if they're into that sort of, they wouldn't know, right? They would say it to be torqued. But all right, so it is educational for as well. All right, so we'll try and do that if I get a chance when I'm starting to you know, put the rods in, and then I get to that phase. All right, but yeah, that's all it was, just to continue it and show you the presentation of the Arrow Precision products, which is absolutely superb. All right, yes, of course, yeah, they're quite a bit more money than anything else out on the market. Equivalent, should we say? But it's not an equivalent in my eyes. It's you get what you pay for. End of story. I mean, the way I look at it is you want to be spending your money on the very best internals that you can if you're building an engine, if you're serious about it, and throw all your money at that, because that's what makes the car run, isn't it? So if you want to have the best in there, because car's no good if it don't run, isn't it? So that's the way I look at it anyway. And all the rest of your stuff, if you can afford to do it, all great. But if cosmetically and stuff on the outside, and other things, maybe exhaust and stuff like this, and wheels and and body kits and all that, I would put your money towards beefing up the internals to the best you very can first, and then worry about the other bits afterwards. But that's just my own opinion. That's the way that I would recommend that you do it. But yeah, this is all I will fit. I won't fit anything else. It's nothing personal. It's just that this is my system that I have, and this is what I recommend. So yeah, what I need to do now is, because the blocks there, which you've already seen, so I need to start getting the main bearings in that. We'll set all those in, get that all cleaned up, and then we'll drop the crank in. I haven't got the head here at the moment. The head's out with our engine machinist Pete Willis, because obviously he needs to check all that and make sure it's all good, and it'll have a light skim, and then we can get that back, and then I can start building up the I've got to clean all the valves up and all that sort of stuff. I haven't done that yet, but I'm not ready for that yet, so just concentrate on getting the bottom end built. So we'll catch up soon. See you in a bit. So we continue. Right, let's go around this side, look. So what I've done here, look, I've dropped in the main bearings. All right, once you got your thrust bearing there, that's the centre one. So it stops the crank from floating side to side. You'll have there's a tolerance of end float, which we'll check anyway, and the crank's in there. I've got the proper RS workshop manual, so I can't remember off the top of my head what it is, the thou end float, but we'll check that anyway. But yeah, so they're all in place. Look, obviously they go in dry, everything's dry, that side of it goes in, and obviously the lubrication, the assembly lube will be on this part of the inner part of the bearing. Okay, and then the same on, so if you look at what have I done with it, it's up there, look. So that's the cradle, see, that's the other part of the mains, and they sit in the cradle, and then obviously drop the crank in, cradle onto the top, plenty of assembly lube, which is I want it down here, I think it is. Yeah, there, look. So this is what I use. I use that. All right. Some builders use engine oil, whichever they want, the 040 Castrol Edge, but I prefer to use that. Get as much, it's nice and thick, gooey, get as much lube as you can, because when you're turning it over by hand, when you're turning it over first initial, before you start connecting anything up, before you want the engine running, get all that lubrication there, and you don't want any dry areas, do you? So you want everything on that first initial start up. It needs to have lubrication there immediately before the oil takes over. All right, so what else I've done? Right, popped in the oil spray jets, which you can see down there. Now, like I said to you before in previous videos, we take the 2.3, the spray jet set the 2.3 block, which is over there. All right, and then we pop them into the 2 litre block. There are different angles, so you could modify. We could get Julian done at Proform to modify the 2 litre ones if you were stuck and you didn't have 2.3 ones. With the stock crank with the balance shaft gear wheel on it, you'd struggle with the 2 litre ones, but they can be modified, can't they, if as a last resort. But we're using the Arrow Precision crank, so it hasn't got that pickup on it, so there's plenty of clearance there. Okay. The other thing is obviously we're doing a balance shaft delete, as we said. We put our own baffled sump system in there, and then obviously you've got the blank there, which is, as you can see, which is beautifully machined out of Billet Alley for us from Julian down at Proform. Obviously there's a O-ring seal, which is quite a unique seal. It's, you know, we're quite lucky because we've got lots of places around us which do all that sort of stuff. So we had to go in, they had to mic it up to get the right seal because it has to be the right thickness, because or else when you try and pop it in there, if it's too thick, it will just split all the time. And then obviously your Allen bolt, we put a proper grippy washer under there. Okay, so that ain't going to come undone. Yeah, so that's it. So the next phase is to drop crank in, lube it all up, and then that'll be that phase out the way. So without further ado, I will crack on. All right, ARP main studs at the ready. So as you can see, we've got there they are, look. So just straightforward, they all look the same basically, just different lengths, so it's be similar to the head stud. Different thickness, different length in it. But yeah, so you've got your little Allen key at the top there. That's not to fit them in, right? That is to extract them. So you screw them in by hand until they bottom out finger tight, and then you leave them. You don't put any torque on them, all right? Because the nut does that, and that's why. Then you've got your nut, your washer, and then your nut, and then you've got the lube I was talking about. That's really important rather than using engine oil, because that gives you the precise torque load on the washer. So obviously what you do is screw that in, and then you'll put some of that lube on the thread on the underside of the washer, on the underside of the nut. So then obviously when it's squeezing down, faux preload on it, torque it up on the mains on this. So they'll give you the torque setting, whatever it is. I'll have a look, it's on the instructions there, can't remember. But then you use the manufacturer's sequence of doing it, which obviously is in the workshop manual. Bit different on the head studs. When you go to the head studs, you don't do that. The head studs is completely different. Don't use any manufacturer's routine installment on that. It's all done. That's a different sheet on that for ARP. The head studs are different, so you use their installation on that sequence and torque settings. But yeah, so that's it really. So we'll wind these in first into the block, make sure that they go all the way down, make sure the threads are all good. Well, it will be because we've had all the block machined and it's all as new, so we haven't got no issues there. But we run them down first, make sure they're all good, then wind them back out again. Yeah, so I'll better get on with it and stop instead of yapping to you guys and girls. So see you in a bit.